God gives us a lot of gifts and a lot of talents. And there's a story in the Bible about God giving different men talents. One he gave one talent, one he gave 5 talents, one he gave several talents, and they were supposed to use their talents and bring a return on the talent. And when the master came back and he was inquiring, like, okay, well, what did you do with what I gave you? What did you do with what I gave you? What did you do with what I gave you? And the one that had the one talent told the master that, well, I know you are a man that wants something on your return. So because I was afraid and, you only gave me one and I didn't want to lose it, when you came back, I just buried it and did nothing with it. And that's what many of us do with the gifts and talents God has given us. And today I'm going to take you on a journey with me through the little gift, not the little, but the gifts and talents that God has given me, to encourage someone today, to let you know that whatever gift or talent that God has given to you, it's not for you to bury it, but it's for you to give him a return. So whatever it is that you're doing, you may look at it and say that I just have this little one thing, or I just have, this little thing that God's given me, but God is wanting a return on that little one thing. In the story, he told the one that buried it, he said, he's going to cast you into outer darkness because you were an unprofitable servant. We don't want to be cast into outer darkness because we're unprofitable with the things that God has given us. He's given it to us for his glory. So again, come with me on this journey today as I show you some of the things that God is allowing me to do, and I hope it blesses someone. Do something with what God has given you. There's a quote that says, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. It all begins with your belief system. And a lot of times we doubt ourselves and we doubt what God can do through us. But if we can take a leap of faith and step out on the things that God has given us, you will see the increase. You will see the blessings. Our gifts and talents are not for us. They're for the world, so God can get the glory. So one of the first things that God is allowing me to do is something called Testimonies of Life. And from I was a new believer, I always love to hear the stories and testimonies of people that came to Christ. Their walk before, their walk during, and even where they are now. And for a few years now, I want to say maybe 7 years, which is a long time. I wanted to highlight some of the testimonies that I knew, or even when I would see someone that's been saved for a long time, or not even just a long time, but someone that's been saved, and I always was intrigued to know what is your story? What is your testimony? And then when I hear their testimony, it'd be so powerful. When I hear it, I'm like, this is amazing, to hear the transformation in the lives of people when they come in contact with the Lord. So last year, the Lord allowed me to start. It's on Instagram, and it's Testimonies of Life. It's on my personal page right now. But every Wednesday at 6 p.m., we interview people, different walks of life, to share their testimony. And one thing I realized too is that our testimonies are very prophetic. When we speak about our testimonies, it's a prophecy of where God was and what he is doing now. When we speak about our testimony, it's very prophetic in that it highlights who Christ is. Knowing that even before we were formed in our mother's womb, God had called us, right? It highlights the things that we're doing now before it even happened. Our testimonies are very prophetic. So to hear people's testimony, for me, it's always mind-blowing in a sense. So the Lord has allowed me to interview several people already who has shared their testimonies, and I've been getting so many messages about how powerful it has been when people hear their testimonies. But we took a pause on it because we were in something called the Great Gathering, which is which is a very, very powerful move on the earth, where God is gathering men and women from across the world together in one place. He's gathering people from all across the world to impart onto the church, to impart to the world. And so if you're in the New York area, please go and visit Harvest Army Church. It's located at 2435 White Plains Road in the Bronx, where God has been moving in their gathering. And go and receive from the Lord. And so we'll be resuming Testimonies of Life next week, Wednesday at 6 p.m., where we'll be highlighting more testimonies and more transformations in the lives of the people. And if you are interested in sharing your testimony, you can just send me a message and we will see what God is doing in the lives of you. I just want to encourage someone, to don't sit on them gifts. Don't sit on them talents that God has given you, but use them, because the master is going to come back and he's going to be like, Keisha, what did you do with that singing ministry that I've given you? Brian, what did you do with that production ministry that I've given you? Shauna, what did you do with that book that I placed inside of you? What did you do with your production skills? What did you do with your decorating skills? So many of us have gifts and talents. What did you do with your drawing skills? What did you do with the things that I've given you? You buried them? What? Outer darkness. We don't want to be like that, but we want to be like the ones that brought back a return. We want to be like the one that did something with what God had given them. And when the master came back, he was like, well, Tasha, what did you do with that thing? And Tasha was like, I bought back 5 more. I made an investment on what you gave me. John, what did you do with that drumming gift that I gave you, the instrumental gift? You can play like 6 instruments. What did you do with that? And John said, well, I started a class. I taught other people how to use, play instruments. He brought back an investment. And the Lord said, yes, great job. Great job. Well done, my good and faithful servant. That's the things that we want to hear. So don't bury your gifts, but we want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. So that's one of the things, again, that I just wanted to highlight is Testimonies of Life. And we will see you a little later as we move on to the next thing that God has been dealing with me and I've been stepping out and doing. So we will see you a little bit later.